The head of U.S. Southern Command, Ted, has visited Tumaco in Colombia, where he met with Vice President Oscar Naranjo. He said on Twitter that he was getting a first-hand look at efforts to counter security threats in the region. It was an unusually public visit for the head of the Southern Command, and it comes after President Juan Manuel Santos sent more troops to Colombia's border with Venezuela. Ted said the Colombians shared their latest strategies and successes in the peace-building process. The Bolivarian president, Evo Morales, responded in a tweet. "We reject the suspicious presence of the head of the U.S. Southern Command, Ted, in Tumaco, Colombia. Any imperialist military threat against peace in sister Venezuela and our region will be thwarted by the dignity, sovereignty, and unity of our democratic peoples." Our correspondent, Juan Manuel Jimenez, has more details in the next report.
Saludos, compañeros. Efectivamente, durante la
The head of the U.S. Southern Command, Ted, visited Colombia, where he met with President Juan Manuel Santos, the Minister of Defense, Luis Carlos Villegas, and the Commander of the Army, Alberto Mejia. He also visited the region of Tumaco along with Vice President Oscar Naranjo to look at the operation on the war on drugs in the south of the country. Ted also said the United States supports the peace talks that the government has been undertaking with various armed groups. But analysts are wondering why the head of the U.S. Southern Command is visiting Colombia now, especially after the declarations made by President Santos and U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson regarding the situation in Venezuela and on the border between both countries. Ted didn't make any remarks on Venezuela as analysts continue to ask the Colombian government what was the objective of his visit.
The visit by the head of the Southern Command came after a week of intense diplomatic campaigning by the United States and Venezuela across the region. The U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson suggested a coup in Venezuela, remarks that the Bolivian government called deplorable.
This is the alleged violence that says there is today in the streets of Caracas. At least, that is what Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has used to call for a change of leadership in Venezuela. Critics say U.S. antagonism could be driven by the fact Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves.
Considering that their energy reserves are in decline, they're planning a paramilitary attack against Venezuela as part of Plan Colombia.
Another country in the crosshairs is Cuba, where the U.S. have been tightening restrictions on travel and trade. The island has been vocal about Tillerson's anti-Venezuela campaign, calling it a quest to reinstate U.S. supremacy over Latin America. Analysts say the true message, in fact, is about confrontation.
We are not promoting divisions. We're looking for new and better policies.
As Tillerson campaigns across the region, so does Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arriaza. Two campaigns, one issue, but two different approaches.
As to any future steps that the U.S. might take regarding sanctioning oil or products to put more pressure on the Maduro regime, we are going to take into full consideration the impacts on regional countries.
Before any circumstances, we will continue together, no matter the way and under any modality. We will defend our sovereignty, our peoples, our right to freedom and equality.
Specialists affirm that the aim of this tour is maintaining coherence with American enforcement policies for the region. However, most Latin America and Caribbean countries insist that this must be kept as a peace zone. Laura Prada, Telesur, Caracas, Venezuela.
The Colombian president, Santos, has blamed a non-fatal double bomb attack on the ELN, who were holding a 3-day national blockade to protest the government's suspension of peace negotiations. The first bomb went off at the Amarillo Bridge over the Samana River, cutting off access to vehicles. The second attack took place in the Curumani region. Before the bomb attacks, the ELN had warned Colombians against traveling during the weekend blockade. President Santos denounced the rebel group in an address to the nation and said that resuming talks would be very difficult. Several social organizations arrived in Ecuador's capital, Quito, to meet on Saturday with the ELN delegates. Their aim was to resume the round of peace talks suspended by the Colombian government. The organization said the peace dialogues have been positive and that parties are interested in negotiating a new ceasefire. They added that they are hopeful the talks can soon resume again.
We confirm our commitment to help with the peace talks and the negotiation of this conflict. We will do anything that we can to restore the talks, and we call on all sectors of society to do the same. We will continue with our duty to contribute to the dialogues. Count on us to help in achieving peace.
After talking to the president, he told me that he would reflect any gesture by the ELN, and we expect that before his term ends, there will be a humanitarian agreement like the Chocó one, but also advancing the demining program that the people affected by the war are urging.
Soldiers clashed with illegal miners in southern Venezuela over the weekend, killing 18 people in a region notorious for violence and gang rivalries. Local media reported 17 men and 1 woman reportedly died in the incident on Saturday morning. The area is known for gold and diamond mining. In 2016, President Nicolas Maduro declared war on hundreds of the illegal miners in the region near the Guyana border. Bolivar State Governor Justo Noguera said a military unit had fought off an attack but gave no more details.
There was activity. There was an attack on a group of soldiers from our glorious Bolivian army. In accordance with protocols and the military doctrine, the attack was repelled. I am not authorized to give numbers of victims. That is handled by the strategic command of the operation. That is handled by the head of defense authority. There was an attack on a group of soldiers carrying out work of the sovereignty.
The Oruro Carnival in Bolivia was tarnished after an explosion in a diner near the parade left 8 people dead, including 4 children. More details in the next report.
Tragedy struck the Bolivian Carnival last night. The explosion of a gas cylinder in a popular diner in the city of Oruro caused 8 deaths and 40 injuries. 38 remain in hospitals of Oruro and 2 others were moved to La Paz. Police said that the explosion occurred due to the deterioration of a pipe that connected a cylinder to a stove. The accident happened in the center of the city and only a block away from Oruro's Carnival parade. There's consternation in the country, and the authorities say that they are treating the patients with all means possible. Official acts for Carnival continue all over Bolivia and also in the city of Oruro, but also with a concern about the rainy season that has caused damages to almost 40 towns. The government declared a state of emergency in the country to help those affected, although there hasn't been any further damage in the last 3 days. The Meteorological Service said that the rainy season has increased because of the phenomenon La Niña, and it will continue until March.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting.
Rechazamos la decisión del gobierno de Venezuela de convocar a elecciones presidenciales.
Welcome back. The election race in Mexico is heating up. Polls say leftist Andres Manuel López Obrador and Ricardo Anaya from a left-wing coalition are tied. Mexico's presidential election is scheduled for July 1st, with López Obrador of Morena and Ricardo Anaya of the PAN on 29% and 28% respectively. The ruling PRI's candidate, José Antonio Méndez, is thrilling in third place.
Pero nos ha ido muy bien en la pre-campaña.
We have gone very well in the pre-campaign. We have had problems, incidents, but people have been very respectful of us. We have called for all people to unite. They are coming on board from different parties. Hence our party, Morena's rise.
You've heard me speak of my family's history. That is why you know I want to be president. I want to be the president of Mexican families.
The first piece of news is that we are technically tied for the election on July 1st.
Violence against women continues in Mexico. According to the United Nations, 7 women are murdered daily. Women organizations are denouncing the lack of sensitivity by the authorities and are demanding measures to guarantee justice for the victims. More details in the next report.
At least 66% of Mexican women have been victims of some sort of violence. According to feminist groups, a considerable amount comes from a spouse or family member. There are many abuse stories that in many cases end up in murder. In 2017, there were 844 femicides according to different government organizations.
Women of all age groups have been murdered, from girls to older ones, not only by their partners but by random people in the streets. All those women deserve justice and their rights to be respected.
Organizations such as the Femicide Report Network are raising awareness around the issue, which is becoming more and more frequent in Mexico, including the capital.
Violence against women is often overlooked or denied. They pretend this is a safe city. They think violence doesn't happen here. Public policies are supposed to protect us, but they don't.
Some say the worst part is that official mechanisms to prevent violence against women are not working. 10 out of the 13 states with a gender alert declaratory lead the murder against women statistics.
The citizens need to keep talking and denouncing. The authorities need to take responsibility. We can't get used to violence against women. A true gender alert will be for the authorities to create prevention policies.
Impunity is a constant in these cases. A clear example is the murder of Minerva Calderón Hernández. After a year, and despite the fact that there was proof shown to the authorities of the state of Puebla, her family is still fighting for justice.
It is very sad that we live in Mexico with all this impunity, in which if you have money, you can buy anything.
According to the United Nations Office for Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment, 7 out of the 12 murders in Latin America happen in Mexico.
10 towns in Puerto Rico have suffered a power outage after a power plant exploded in San Juan. The fire in the power plant of Manaclos left thousands of people without electricity. Authorities said the explosion caused a chain reaction, causing outages in San Juan, Palo Seco Central, and several other municipalities. Parliamentary and local elections will take place in El Salvador on March 4th. Our correspondent Ernesto Alvalos has more details in the next report.
With just 20 days until the election of members of Congress and mayors, the political parties are going out into the communities. The candidates of the FMLN have been visiting citizens and getting to know the needs and opinions of the Salvadorian people. Currently, the FMLN has 31 members in the Legislative Assembly. Of course, their aim is to increase their number of lawmakers in the Assembly in order to continue the social programs promoted by the government of President Salvador Sánchez Serén, which have frequently been blocked by the political opposition. More than 5 million Salvadorians are registered to vote. On March 4th, Salvadorians will choose 262 municipal governments and 84 lawmakers for the 2018 to 2021 period, who will pass laws that either benefit or prejudice the people of El Salvador.
Before that explosion at Bolivia's Carnival, the Anata Parade had been a celebration of color and dance in the historic mining town of Oruro. Thousands of musicians performed some 18 traditional carnival dances in a spectacle lasting over 20 hours. The show stretched for 5 kilometers from the hills to the west of the city, the sanctuary of the Virgin of Socavon. The carnival has its origins in an ancient festival celebrated by the indigenous Oruro people who would travel to the town to celebrate the protective Waka gods.
It's about the integration of the different people of Bolivia, from the Tobas who were born for the Oruro Carnival in devotion of and to honor the Virgin of Socavon. The Tobas Sud have spent more than 100 years in this institution, building a history and a contribution to Bolivia culture with the Tobas dance. We are the first group in the Oruro Carnival.
Carnival celebrations officially opened on Friday in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. More in this report.
Rei Momo, the carnival figure king with headdress-wearing female samba dancers, officially launched the festivities that will last for 5 days.
Carnival is that time when we all forget our problems, even if it's just for a moment. For me, being part of its magic, to dance and parade and bring joy, it's fantastic.
Carnival mania continued to sweep through Rio de Janeiro on Saturday, with the city's famed samba school parading through the specially built Sambadrome in a dazzling display of revelry. The Sambadrome is the venue for a competition judged on elements such as choreography, atmosphere, organization and singing. While the processions are famous for their festive atmosphere, the competition between the samba school is fierce. Carnival revelers dressed in colorful costumes attended the Cardao do Boitata, one of the city's most traditional block parties, or blocos, on Sunday. While some were dressed in jesters, princesses or devils, others had costumes that were harder to identify. Camila Miguel said the idea was to have fun with the experience, wearing hats, glitter, costumes and paint.
What's cool is that everyone is self-aware dreaming. They are having fun. They are wearing glitter and costume clothing, doing everyday common things without worrying about anything. That's what I think is cool.
Even dogs get in on the fun during Carnival, as Rio Pets owners and their pups dressed up in costumes on Saturday for the Blocao street party in Rio de Janeiro. Dozens of dogs wearing feathers, caps, tutus and animal costumes paraded down the street in the arms of their loving owners before strutting their stuff on a catwalk to the sound of a samba beat.
Nowadays, Brazil's dog population is very big. There are many families who choose to have a dog instead of having a child. So that's the importance of the block parade, because people here have fun with the animal they love. That's what makes this necessary. Nowadays, Brazil, and mainly Rio de Janeiro, has more dogs than people.
Rio de Janeiro's carnival will last until February 17th, during which time the city will be teeming with hundreds of thousands of tourists who come to watch the parades and take part in raucous street processions.
In Trinidad and Tobago, the biggest carnival celebrations in the Caribbean begins with Juve. During Juve, people cover themselves with mud and paint as they parade through the streets. More traditional celebrations see costumes with satirical takes on current events. After Juve, carnival celebrations continue throughout Monday and Tuesday with more colorful costumes. The origins of Trinidad Carnival is celebrated every year by theatre groups in the streets of Port of Spain on the Friday before Carnival. Cambule, from the Kikongo word for procession, is a reenactment of the 1881 riot in Port of Spain, when the descendants of slaves fought the colonial government's attempt to shut down their festival. Armed with sticks and torches, they resisted and soon overwhelmed the colonial police force, thereby securing their right to perform carnival. This version of the street play was written by N2 Springer and has become the unofficial start of Trinidad's Carnival weekend. Also in Haiti, thousands of people are celebrating Carnival. In Port-au-Prince, people wore colorful costumes and danced in the streets. Carnival is an old tradition in the country and goes back to 1804. Not even the devastating earthquake in 2010 was enough to stop the celebrations. Now, although it might not compare to Rio's spectacular shows, Haitians' passion for the event is just as lively as the Brazilians.
I'm very happy with this Carnival. It's as if it were in Brazil. I'm very happy. I hope that it all goes well and without violence, without injuries, without victims, and without deaths. May it be enjoyed without violence.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. Oxfam's UK Chief Executive Penny Lawrence has quit after Haiti demanded Oxfam identify the staff members who hired sex workers while on a mission in the country. The British Aid Minister summoned Oxfam's Chief Executive to demand the full facts. With $44 million of government funding, there have been threats from the ministry to cut financial support to the organization. The aid agency is being widely criticized for covering up a sex scandal in Haiti after the 2010 earthquake.
I think it's shocking, and it doesn't matter how good the safeguarding practices are in an organisation. If that organisation does not have the moral leadership to do the right thing, and where, in particular, they have evidence of criminal activity, to pass that information to the relevant authorities, including prosecuting authorities.
The United States Vice President Mike Pence has said Washington is ready to talk with North Korea without any preconditions. Pence made this announcement just after returning from the Winter Olympics in South Korea. The prospect of talks comes after months of tension and a war of words between Washington and Pyongyang over North Korea's nuclear program. Pence's announcement is seen as a diplomatic strategy of maximum pressure and engagement at the same time. And on to the Olympics themselves, where celebrations were threatened by a cyber attack, but that wasn't enough to kill the spirit of the Games.
The opening ceremony sparked into a show of fire and ice, with more than 1,000 drones transforming from snowboarders to the Olympic rings. As with tradition, the event wrapped up with a dazzling fireworks spectacle. But the event came with its share of obstacles. Officials have confirmed the Games fell victim to a cyber attack just before the opening ceremony, and the official Winter Olympics website was taken offline for about 12 hours. Organizers have been mum on details.
I guess I don't know, but we don't know. As far as I know, I certainly don't know who it is, and obviously for, as I say, best industry practices that you don't talk about an attack at this stage.
But the attack couldn't dampen the spirit of the Olympics. An inspiring message came from Mexico's flag bearer and cross-country skier.
Well, for someone that started skiing a year ago, 42 years old, coming from a warm country like Mexico where there's no snow, my expectations are different. My expectations are to tell the story of an impossible dream, an improbable athlete that made it all the way to the Olympic Games.
Similar sentiments from the Jamaican women's bobsled team about the need to inspire the next generation of Jamaicans.
So coming back home to Jamaica, I wanted my Jamaican people to see that they can do it, and that there's not just one path this way or one path that way to get out of poverty or to make money or to make a name for themselves. If they want to be a Winter Olympian and do alpine ski, now they see their fellow Jamaicans in the Winter Olympics.
Everyone is considered a winner at the Olympics, but so far Europe is taking a lead in the medal tally, with Germany, the Netherlands, and Norway celebrating the biggest wins.
We've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telsutv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Tell Us Your English, I'm Soini Gray. Thank you so much for watching.